Hi, Jason Knott with CE Pro, and I'm excited to be talking about the Resimercial market with Adam Rogers, Product Manager and Technical Support Specialist at Metra Home Theater Group. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Jason, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for joining me today. So we're going to talk about this Resimercial market, and first I kind of think we have to define what Resimercial means. You know, there's a lot of different areas where it could be the potential of a residential integrator going into light commercial environments such as bars, restaurants, hospitality, those sorts of applications. Also, we see some residential product migrating into the commercial space. So in some cases, integrators are installing what typically would have been a residentially used product into these light commercial applications. And then I'll throw in multi-dwelling unit applications where those are residential projects, but really in many cases, integrators run them like commercial projects. So it's kind of a blurring market between the commercial market and the residential market. And so this term Resimercial is kind of cropped up and bubbled up to the top. Is that how you kind of see the market, Adam?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, when you look at the differences between the light commercial and the residential world, you kind of nailed it on the head there when you're talking about the different avenues that we see as light commercial, the bars, restaurants, the MDUs, the multi-dwelling units that you're talking about. The market there crosses over very easily into the residential because we don't have to it's not a football stadium where we have to worry about, miles worth of cable inside of an area and needing to get signal that far around. In those applications, it's a much smaller area, so it's very easy for certain products to transfer from one system over to the other.
So within this Resimercial space, what are some of the hot vertical markets or categories that you're seeing for Resimercial growth?
So as we were talking about before, bars and restaurants are a very easy way to get into it. It's a very hot market, so to speak. Using something like our multi-viewer that we have. It's a 4x1 multi-viewer, meaning you can take 4 inputs, have one output going to a singular display and showing multiple sports games or whatever you want to show on that screen from that setup. We even see things in when we go into conference rooms and conference centers, same application. You can go ahead and use the multi-viewer there. And again, it becomes an easy way for the residential integrator to go ahead and transition over into the commercial integration side because it's not a large space. You're not having to, again, worry about too far of a distance or anything. And it winds up being something that the people that are using that equipment, and again, it's not necessarily someone who is quote unquote trained on it, but it's very familiar to them because it may be something similar to what they're using in their home already.
I'm glad you mentioned the corporate boardroom environment because I know I've spoken with some integrators who are doing quite a few smaller facilities with few corporate boardrooms. And what's happening is the larger commercial AV companies are just not working in commercial office environments that have 1, 2, 3 boardrooms. They're doing the much, much larger projects. So that's been another kind of growth area in the Resimercial space. But let me ask you this. What are some of the challenges an integrator might face, a residential integrator might face moving into commercial projects?
So it's definitely a different world when we're going from a residential to a commercial world. You have a lot more requirements when it comes to, like I was saying before, the local ordinances from the cities and counties. So getting out there and getting friendly with some of the general contractors in the area that can kind of, help, give a lending hand as to getting through all of that. They're going to run into differences in how they get paid. It's something as simple as, normally we see smaller jobs, you get paid at the end of the job, or you might take a small, security deposit of some kind. Now in the commercial side, we're seeing more of a draw type system. So as you go through the project, there's certain stages where you may need to start drawing from the next part of that project. So those are just a few of the, many examples that we've seen as, different ways and more difficult ways to get into it, but they're really not that difficult to get past as soon as you team up with somebody who's in the area that's, familiar with that type of setup to begin with.
Good point. So you mentioned the multi-viewer. What other specific solutions does Metra have for this Resimercial space?
So one of the big ones that we have, it's actually 2 different parts right now. We have the HDM-GA1, and we also have the GA2, which is the newest one. The GA1, of course, is a 24 gig gigabit accelerator. And what that means, of course, for HDMI world, it means that as we go into the HDMI 2.1 specification, most of the jobs that you're going to get are probably going to be pre-existing ones where they're going to want you to upgrade something. They may want to go ahead and go to a higher bandwidth requirement camera. They may want to do the ability to have 4K or even higher than that as the new 8K displays come out. And now with the GA1 and the GA2, you'll be able to utilize the ability to use the same HDMI cable that's already in the wall, so long as it's of decent quality, while still bringing them up to the new bandwidth requirements at the HDMI 2.1 specification levels.
So Adam, I'm seeing some instances where just the Metra term is being used for the company instead of the full Metra home theater group. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so actually it turns out that the rise of this Resimercial environment has actually spurred us to go ahead and look at rebranding ourselves a little bit. So this is new information for pretty much everybody. So CE Pro's getting the launch on this one. But we are going to be looking into dropping the Metra home theater moniker, and we're going to be going for the more professional Metra as just a good brand to stand behind, so that we're able to go into the more commercial environments and be able to show the clients that are looking to buy from you to be not just, hey, this says home theater, why would I put this in my commercial application? Because the products that we have, like the GA1, the GA2, our HDMI matrices, and a bunch of other devices are good to be used in those applications, not just in the residential world.
Tell us about some of the educational opportunities you have out there for integrators to be able to explore this space.
Well, very simply, YouTube is a great tool for that. If you look up Metra Home Theater Group on YouTube, you'll actually find a bunch of videos that we release. And in fact, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, both Brent McCall and myself go live on YouTube, where we have our Tech Tips webinar every week, where we talk about stuff that's happening in the industry. We talk about different ways that will help the integrator out there in the field. We will be discussing more residential and commercial applications throughout all of it. So it's definitely a good place to, look for more information, to get more ideas and thought processes when it comes to how do I use the residential application on the commercial side. So definitely check it out. It's every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on YouTube.